Hello friends, welcome back to another video. If you're new and not subscribed, I'm Kayla Bame, and you should really think about subscribing to my channel because the greatest things in the world happen when you do that. So, subscribe. We are trying to reach the goal of 6,000 subscribers, everybody. 6,000 subscribers. So, let's get to 6,000 subscribers. So for today's video, I am going to be doing, it's going to be an art video, okay? We're going to be doing another glass painting. When I filmed the original glass painting, I got a lot of feedback on it, a lot of people giving me some tips to try and solve the issues that I had brought up in that video. There were some people that were requesting that I film another one. So I was gonna do that. Someone informed me that it was actually called reverse glass paintings, which makes a lot more sense than what I called it. But I mean, if you want to follow along, you can follow along. I'm going to be doing Jack the Skeleton from A Nightmare Before Christmas. It's a really cool reference picture. I am doing this as an order for my Etsy shop, which is also a really good friend of mine. So here's Jack the Skeleton.
Okay, first things first, party people, we're gonna get our totally awesome window cleaner so we can clean the glass. Then you're gonna take the glass from the frame that you got from the Dollar Tree and you're gonna line it up to your picture, nice and easy. Be extra careful when handling glass because if you didn't know, it's sharp and will cut you. And then you're going to tape down the corners of your glass because we're going to make sure that this bad boy isn't going anywhere. Next, I'm going to outline every single outline on this picture with the Craftsmart Michaels very extra fine tip oil-based marker. And let me just tell you, this marker changed the game, okay? Before I was using the regular fine tip paint marker by Craftsmart, but you know how like fine tip isn't actually like fine tip, and when you want small lines you actually need an ultra fine tip because that makes a lot of sense. But the ultra fine tip marker is the bestest marker to outline with, just like my channel is the bestest to subscribe to, so subscribe to my channel, please. Okay, thanks. No, but seriously, the ultra fine tip oil-based paint marker by Craftsmart is the best marker to outline these paintings with. So if you want the best marker, this marker is Kayla Bame approved. And if you can't get this marker, there are different types of markers. Sharpie has an oil-based marker that is also ultra fine tip, which is good for that. If you can't find an ultra fine tip marker, you could use a fine tip marker, that'll work. If you can't get a Craftsmart marker, you can also get a Sharpie marker, that will also work. So whatever you gotta do, just find a marker to outline your picture with. And after I finish outlining my picture, what I like to do is take the tape off. I know I said we needed to keep it sturdy, but I take the tape off and I look at what I have just to make sure everything is outlined, all the lines are connected, and if there is bumps in my lines, I know where to go to fix it because it's easier to see without the picture in the background. And if there is lines that I need to fix, I found out a scoring and piercing tool. I know that's not what it's used for, but I use it to scrape off some of the paint because let me tell you, this paint is extremely difficult to get off unless you're like scraping it off with something or using acetone to take it off. But as I stated in my last video, sometimes it's hard to navigate with a Q-tip, even if there is those sharp pointed Q-tips. Sometimes, you know, stuff happens and the acetone will completely remove it and then you have to redo it. So I use a piercing and scoring tool. That's not what it's for, but I'm a creative thinker, okay? I found this fancy little tool at the Dollar Tree, so you can go pick yourself up one, or if you already have it for what it's actually used for, you can use it for your glass paintings. But if you don't have this and you can't find it, you can use Q-tips and acetone, you can use toothpicks, you can use even paper clips if you wanted to. You just gotta have that creative mind like me, you know what I'm saying? Now for the painting time. For the green little smoke around him, I'm using the color Apple Tart by Craftsmart. Now, when painting, you have to put a extremely generous amount of paint on the areas that you are covering, because that's just how these paintings work. But while I was doing my paintings, I realized I was running into this problem where the paint was bubbling and I couldn't really figure out why it was bubbling. And when I mean bubbling, like not on the backside where you can't see it, like the air bubbles were going to the surface of the glass. So when you flip it around, you could see all these bubbles in the paint. And after some experimenting, I figured out that the paint started to bubble extremely bad the more layers I put on top of the paint. And I'm not entirely sure why this happened, but I figured that out. So when painting this, I just figured you gotta put as much paint on the first layer to cover it, and that'll stop the paint from bubbling. Like I said, I don't really know why this happened. If you know why this happened, please tell me, because I have no idea why this started happening. I also tried out using some fine art acrylic paint, not Apple Barrel and Craftsmart, because when I opened the bottles, I realized that the fine art acrylic paint, I don't know if there's a better term for it, like the professional acrylic paint that you would use for professional paintings, that paint is a lot thicker than Craftsmart and Apple Barrel, and when I put a ton of layers on that paint when I tried a glass painting, it didn't bubble. So it could very well be that I was just using paint that's not really meant for this kind of stuff. But if you don't want to pay, your whole arm for paint to do a painting, you can use Apple Barrel and Craftsmart. Just make sure the one layer that you put on is heavy enough so you can see the color well when you flip it around. Then I took the color Cloverfield by Apple Barrel and I did the details of his suit with this color and the little top of his head and his eyeballs, just because I wanted a different green. And to do the small details like this, I kind of figured out that it was more of like a pressure thing. So heavier pressure is going to get you the thicker end of the line, and then if you kind of lighten up your pressure and ease up on it towards the end, you'll get kind of that tapered look, I guess. I'm so professional, aren't I? You know exactly what I'm talking about. This is the easiest tutorial you'll ever find, right? But if you can't get it thin enough on your first go, this instance, I really like using toothpicks just because they work great for removing the paint, and it's not going to accidentally remove your outline, because I've had that happen as well, and that's extremely difficult to fix. So for the paint details and stuff, I always use a toothpick to fix my mistakes. Then I took white paint to do all the little stripes on his suit. The reason why I did the green paint before the white paint is because if you look at the reference picture, the green outlines do show up before the white, like it looks like it's on top of the white. So in order to have this same effect for our painting, we have to do the green outlines before the white outlines. So do that. And if you're wondering why all of a sudden my lines are coming out a little bumpy, it's because my hands were shaking because I was a little bit hungry. So don't judge me, okay? This is a judgment-free zone, just like Planet Fitness, all right? And I know I said I always use a toothpick to fix my paint lines, but if it's not near the outline, I'll use my cool little piercing tool gadget, because it'll scrape off the paint a lot easier than the toothpick. But if I am by the black outline, I will not use this piercing tool because it is a lot sharper than a toothpick. If you didn't know, it's very piercing, okay? Piercing means sharp. It'll take off the outline super easily, so stay away from the outline with your piercing tool. Then I took the color Deep Coral, and I used this color to do the highlights on his little chest piece and the skull. And I keep the picture underneath the glass still, even though I'm painting on it. So when I do the highlights and the shading, I can see exactly where the highlights and the shading are. This is really easy if you're not good at freehanding. I can freehand if I must, but when I do these glass paintings, I kind of take the lazy way out, and I use the reference picture in the back as kind of my guideline for the shading. But if you're a new painter or if you've never painted before, it's a lot easier, so you should try it. It's a fun project to do, okay? Then I used the color Dark Orange for the shadow on his head. And then I used the color Orange for the rest of his pumpkin head. Do you guys ever think about how ridiculous some of these color names are? Like, seriously, they come up with every single shade of anything you can think of, and they may look exactly the same. But, like, do you guys know how many shades of gray that they sell? All of them. And after you paint all the details, okay, the last step to this painting is his black suit. So go ahead and cover all of his suit with black, and we'll be done with this masterpiece. And are you ready for the reveal? Wow, look at our Jack the Skeleton. Incredible.
Alright, well that is it for today's video. If you liked it, be sure to give it a thumbs up and leave in the comments down below what you thought of my Jack the Skeleton glass painting. The idea of these paintings is literally the coolest thing I have ever done ever, okay? When I found out about these glass paintings, I really liked the idea of it, and I just like the reveal from the back being all gross looking, and then when you flip it over, it's like a nice painting. So tell me what you thought. But I'll see you guys back here next week. Peace.